What started as a routine interview between Elon Musk and Bill Maher quickly spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable and revealing confrontations ever aired on television. When bold claims met inconvenient truths, and the host tried to spin a narrative, Musk pushed back, with clarity, data, and zero patience for games. What was the lie? How did Musk dismantle it? And why did the crowd fall completely silent? This story pulls back the curtain on the tense exchange that left the audience stunned and forced Maher to reckon with more than just tough questions. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay updated on the moments they never want you to see. The studio lights were bright, the audience lively, and the cameras rolling for what was expected to be a typical episode of Bill Maher's talk show. Elon Musk, the enigmatic billionaire and tech visionary, sat across from Maher, the host known for his sharp wit and unapologetic commentary. The air was charged with anticipation. Would this be another amicable exchange of ideas or a collision of egos and ideologies? Maher opened the show with his usual flair, quickly steering the conversation toward Musk's controversial statements on climate change and technology. But as the dialogue unfolded, it became clear that Maher had come prepared, not just with questions, but with a narrative he was determined to push. He claimed Musk had been misleading the public about the environmental impact of electric vehicles, accusing him of glossing over inconvenient facts. Was it an honest critique or a calculated attempt to corner the guest? Musk's response was measured at first, weaving in technical data and scientific studies to refute Maher's points. But as the accusations grew more pointed, Musk's tone sharpened. He asked the audience, "How often do we accept information from influential voices without questioning the evidence? How many truths have been dressed up as opinion on primetime television?" The tension mounted with every exchange. Was this a genuine debate or a staged spectacle designed to entertain at the expense of truth? The audience watched, rapt. Some nodded in agreement with Musk's facts. Others leaned forward, caught in the unfolding drama. Maher pushed harder, challenging Musk's figures and intent. But Musk was unyielding, calmly dismantling each claim with precision, exposing contradictions, and pointing out where Maher's assertions fell short. The room seemed to hold its breath. Could this be the moment where the host lost control? By the end of the segment, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. What began as a controlled interview had evolved into a raw confrontation, leaving viewers questioning not just the topic at hand, but the very nature of truth in media. Who was telling the story? Who was shaping the narrative? And who had the courage to speak beyond the script? The stage was set for the explosive moments to come. The tension in the studio grew thicker with every passing moment. Bill Maher, who had commanded the room with confidence for years, suddenly found himself facing a guest who refused to be boxed in or dismissed. Elon Musk sat poised, his expression calm yet unyielding as Maher shifted tactics. The earlier focus on environmental concerns gave way to a sharper scrutiny of Musk's character and business ethics. Maher's voice grew more pointed, his questions increasingly loaded with implication. Was Musk truly the visionary he claimed to be, or was he a master of spin, using charisma and media savvy to deflect from his failures? Maher brought up Musk's ambitious projects, SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, acknowledging their impressive feats, but also questioning the price paid along the way. Production delays, workplace controversies, tweets that sparked public outcry. Were these signs of recklessness or calculated risks? Could Musk's relentless pursuit of innovation excuse moments of questionable judgment? The host pressed, when does ambition cross the line into irresponsibility? Was Musk accountable for every misstep under his empire, or could such scrutiny be unfair in a landscape defined by risk and disruption? Musk listened carefully but did not flinch. When he spoke, his voice was steady but carried a weight that suggested more than just corporate jargon. He acknowledged mistakes, not as failures to be hidden, but as inevitable byproducts of pioneering change. The path to progress, Musk explained, was rarely smooth. The setbacks and public backlash were painful, but necessary lessons on the road to something bigger. He asked the viewers to consider this. How often do we allow fear of failure to stifle progress? Are we willing to accept discomfort and uncertainty in exchange for breakthroughs that could redefine humanity's future? The exchange escalated into a heated philosophical debate. Maher challenged Musk's optimistic framing, arguing that blind faith in technology and disruption ignored the very real consequences faced by workers, communities, and the environment. He questioned whether Musk's lofty visions sometimes overshadowed accountability and empathy. Could one person's dream become a nightmare for others? Was the pursuit of greatness just an excuse for unchecked power? Musk responded by painting a broader picture, one where innovation was a force for good, despite imperfections. He described his companies not as perfect machines, but as evolving experiments aimed at solving humanity's greatest challenges. Space travel, renewable energy, artificial intelligence, each carried risks, but also potential to elevate society. Musk's passion was evident. This was not a man content with the status quo, but a relentless disruptor demanding a reconsideration of what is possible. He posed a question. If progress requires discomfort and sacrifice, how do we balance ambition with responsibility? The audience was riveted, caught between the stark realities presented by Maher and the hopeful vision offered by Musk. The conflict was no longer just about facts or lies, but about values and priorities. Who should decide the future? The cautious, skeptics, wary of change, or the bold innovators, willing to gamble everything on possibility. Just as the debate seemed poised to spiral into chaos, a sudden shift occurred. Musk's tone hardened, and he directly confronted Maher's insinuations about dishonesty and manipulation. The room grew silent, the audience sensing that the line between argument and personal attack was near. Was this the moment where diplomacy would end and raw confrontation begin? Would Musk hold back, or unleash the full force of his response? This pivotal moment marked a turning point. The polite veneer of the interview cracked, revealing the raw tension beneath, a clash of ideologies, personalities, and truths. What happened next would not only define the rest of the show, but send shockwaves far beyond the studio walls. The air in the studio grew thick with an almost tangible tension, as Elon Musk's demeanor shifted from calm composure to something sharper, more resolute. The earlier polite back and forth dissolved into a direct and unflinching confrontation. Musk leaned forward, eyes locked onto Bill Maher with an intensity that silenced the room. "Let's be honest," Musk said, his voice steady but carrying an unmistakable edge. "There's a narrative being pushed here, and it's not the truth." The audience, both in the studio and watching from home, sensed that this was no longer a simple exchange of ideas, but a clash of wills. Bill Maher, momentarily caught off guard by Musk's forthrightness, quickly regained his composure. He shot back, accusing Musk of deflecting from serious questions and manipulating facts to suit his own image. The host's tone was firm, laced, with the frustration of someone used to controlling the conversation, but now facing an opponent unwilling to play by those rules. Was this a battle for truth, or merely a contest of ego? The lines blurred as the two men traded barbs with growing intensity. Musk, no longer content with generalities, began citing specific examples where media outlets had distorted his statements or overlooked inconvenient details about his ventures. He questioned the fairness of public discourse, challenging Maher and viewers alike. How often do we accept what we are told without question? How many narratives are shaped before we even hear the full story? The audience was captivated, hanging on every word as Musk framed a broader issue, one about power, influence, and the control of information in a deeply divided media landscape. The questions Musk posed struck a chord. When media personalities hold so much sway, How can the public discern fact from opinion? Who decides which voices are amplified and which are silenced? Maher's frustration grew visibly. What started as an intellectual challenge morphed into a personal battle. The host accused Musk of arrogance, suggesting that his wealth and influence had insulated him from accountability. "You live in a bubble," Maher said, his voice rising. "You don't understand how your actions affect real people." The studio's atmosphere crackled with electricity, the polite boundaries of a talk show shattered by raw emotion. Musk's response was unyielding. He acknowledged the weight of responsibility, but refused to accept what he saw as unfair criticism. "Innovation is messy," he said, voice calm but firm. "Progress is never clean or easy. If we expect perfection, we will never move forward." He looked directly into the camera, making the moment personal for every viewer. "Are we willing to sacrifice comfort for the chance at a better future? Or are we content to remain stuck in cynicism?" The exchange escalated further, voices overlapping, tension mounting. Then, in a dramatic moment, Musk rose from his seat. The gesture was loaded with meaning, a physical declaration that the conversation had reached a breaking point. "This isn't a debate anymore," Musk said, voice resolute. "I'm here to talk about facts, not to be subjected to a character assassination." The room held its breath as Musk began to walk toward the exit. Maher attempted to intervene, calling out for calm, but Musk's decision was final. Cameras captured the stunned reactions of the crew, audience members, and Maher himself, who sat frozen in disbelief. The interview ended abruptly, the broadcast cutting to commercial, with no resolution. What the viewers witnessed was unprecedented. A public falling out between two influential figures, exposing the fragile balance between media scrutiny and personal integrity. The moment left the audience grappling with difficult questions. When does skepticism cross into unfairness? Can truth survive in an environment dominated by spectacle and sound bites? The fallout was immediate and intense. Social media erupted. Commentators debated who had won or lost, and the incident dominated headlines for days. Yet beneath the noise, a deeper conversation emerged about the nature of truth, power, and the struggle for control in a polarized world. The clash between Musk and Maher became more than just a television moment. It became a symbol of the larger battle for narrative control in modern society. The studio's charged atmosphere deepened as Elon Musk absorbed Maher's sharp rebuke. The tension was no longer subtle. It was raw and palpable, like the moment before a storm breaks. Musk's expression hardened, but his voice remained calm, steadying the room with the weight of conviction. "It's easy to accuse from a distance," Musk responded quietly. "But innovation, progress, and change are never comfortable. They ruffle feathers, upset the status quo, and challenge deeply held beliefs." His words hung heavy in the air, echoing beyond the studio's walls. The audience could feel the gravity of his statement, understanding that this was about more than just a heated argument. It was a battle for how society defines truth and progress. Musk leaned forward, his gaze scanning the room as if daring anyone to challenge his resolve. "If we expect perfection from every step forward, we'll remain stagnant. Progress requires risks, and yes, sometimes mistakes. But we cannot let fear or resentment stop us." Bill Maher's frustration was palpable now, his usual composure cracking under the pressure. "Risk does not excuse recklessness," Maher countered, voice rising again. "There are real people affected by these risks you talk about. You can't just brush off the consequences with a catchy slogan." The clash of ideas became more than words. It was a collision of worldviews between idealistic ambition and grounded accountability. As the argument escalated, Musk took a breath and shifted gears, turning the focus to the broader implications. "This isn't just about me or you," he said, voice firm but measured. It's about how we have conversations in the public sphere. How do we hold each other accountable without tearing each other down? How do we seek truth in a world overwhelmed by misinformation and division? The audience was left with questions that felt both urgent and unsettling. How can dialogue survive in a landscape so polarized that even a single conversation spirals into confrontation? Is it possible to have genuine discourse when both sides feel threatened? And perhaps the most pressing question, what does it mean for society when those in positions of influence cannot find common ground? Suddenly, Musk's resolve seemed to solidify. With a decisive motion, he stood up from his seat. The studio fell into stunned silence. "I'm here to talk facts and solutions, not to be dragged into a spectacle," Musk said firmly, signaling he was done. The abruptness of his departure shocked everyone. The live cameras caught the disbelief on Maher's face, the murmurs from the crew, and the stunned audience watching at home. Maher called out as Musk walked toward the exit, but his words were drowned out by the moment's wait. The show cut abruptly to commercial, leaving viewers suspended in the aftermath of a confrontation that had escalated far beyond a typical interview. What started as a discussion had ended in a dramatic fracture, one that would echo in conversations far beyond the studio. This moment would ignite debates about media responsibility, the limits of public discourse, and the price of holding fast to one's convictions in a world quick to judge. It exposed the precarious balance between speaking truth and being heard, and how easily that balance can tip into conflict. The aftermath of the explosive confrontation between Elon Musk and Bill Maher sent shockwaves across social media, news outlets, and public discourse. The clip of Musk abruptly leaving the set went viral within hours, sparking heated debates across the nation. Supporters hailed Musk's refusal to tolerate what they saw as unfair treatment, while critics accused him of avoiding accountability. Yet beneath the polarized reactions, a deeper conversation emerged, one about truth, power, and the challenges of honest dialogue in today's fractured society. In the days following the incident, Musk remained remarkably composed. Instead of retreating, he used the moment to double down on his message about the need for transparency and thoughtful conversation. Through carefully crafted statements and interviews, he emphasized that progress required not just innovation, but also accountability and humility. The public saw a man willing to stand firm, but also to listen and evolve. Bill Maher, too, addressed the fallout, acknowledging the intensity of the exchange, but defending his commitment to holding powerful figures accountable. He expressed hope that the incident would spark more honest, if difficult, conversations rather than further division. The dialogue between them, though fractured, had opened a door to critical questions about the role of media, the responsibility of public figures, and the true meaning of progress. For viewers, the episode was a stark reminder that truth is often complex and contested. It challenged them to question not only the narratives presented by media and celebrities, but also their own assumptions and biases. Can society rise above spectacle and sound bites to find common ground? Is it possible for individuals with vastly different perspectives to engage in genuine, respectful dialogue? These questions lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling. Ultimately, the confrontation between Elon Musk and Bill Maher became more than a headline. It was a moment of reckoning. It exposed the fragile nature of public discourse and the immense pressures faced by those in the spotlight. But it also highlighted a vital truth: that progress, however difficult and fraught with conflict, depends on courage. The courage to speak out, to listen, and to persist in the face of adversity. As the dust settled, the public was left with a choice. Would they retreat into echo chambers and division, or would they embrace the challenge of understanding and bridge the gaps that divide? The answer, as this dramatic encounter showed, might just determine the future of dialogue in an increasingly complex world.